Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. My name's Cody Bills, this is Logan Burgess. Today is the 25th here, it's a Thursday. We had export sales out this morning. Let's turn over the iPad here, see where we closed off the day. Corn down 3 cents, soybeans down 13.5. We had Chicago wheat trading down 6 cents at the end of the day. Of course, we did get some nice export reportable sales this morning. 115,000 metric tons of soybeans to China for new crop delivery. We also saw 120,000 metric tons of wheat, hard red winter wheat, going to Nigeria for new crop delivery as well. Despite those nice sales that were announced earlier on in the morning, we drifted lower here. Logan, what's the reason?
You know, it was a relatively quiet day for the grains with the exception of those export sales, Cody, and one thing that seems to be continuing to weigh on prices in Chicago has been a dollar index, which continues to march higher. Take a look here at the U.S. dollar index December contract. You can see that with today's move. We actually broke out a little bit here from the range that we've been trading. Just looking at this dollar index is up 1% over the last 5 days and up 7% since the lows that we put in July. In particular, this story has been talked a lot about with regards to wheat. Wheat market did trade lower here once again, but contributing to some weakness out of the wheat complex was the International Grain Council coming out and raising their world output by 4 million metric tons here for the upcoming 14-15 marketing year. So both those factors help wheat move lower. Honestly, looking at corn and soybeans, it really looked like two markets that are just continuing to move lower. I know we've talked about it quite a bit here on GrainTV. Technically right now, fundamentally, these markets, in our opinion, still have a little bit to go, and the trade today just seemed kind of reflective of a market that continues to grind lower.
Absolutely, just not enough there to turn this thing around at all. So right now, we did have export sales announced this morning. This is the weekly export sales report. Of course, for corn, soybeans, both of these were very big sales this week, but this was for the most part expected. A lot of these sales were reported last week so that they were anticipated here for this report, and that's one of the reasons why mostly traders just shrugged off these big numbers. But corn came out with 836,000 metric tons. You can see that's on the high side of analyst expectations. About half of those sales were booked to Mexico here. When you look at soybeans here, big sales, 2.5 million metric tons. If you weren't paying attention last week, you'd think this is very positive, but really, I mean, this was really a result of a Chinese delegation touring the Midwest, making some big purchases last week, and for the most part, it wasn't anything outstanding, and it was very well reported on. So not enough of a surprise here to move the market. Soybeans continues to trend lower.
Yeah, absolutely, Cody. You know, those sales were talked about last week, and even a lot of trade chatter today on today's reportables is that China tends to forward book a lot of sales, but does have a reputation for canceling some of those sales in the latter part of the marketing year. Seems like this news was discounted further as a result of that. As we kind of look toward harvest here, as you can see on the 6 to 10 day forecast, we are going to be getting some wet conditions over the northwestern grain belt. That should slow down harvest a little bit there. We'd expect 10 to 15% of corn reported harvested here in Monday's crop progress report. If you look at the 8 to 14 day forecast, looks like a little bit of rain for the more central part of the grain belt. So this could be a concern for traders here. Looking long term, I don't think this is going to be a big fundamental changer. The weather that we're looking at here on these models is not going to be significant. Additionally, through the 5th of October, really not any chance of a frost freeze event. So those are kind of the last two things here that traders are going to be looking at in terms of production on this crop. And right now it seems like a neutral to even a slightly bearish story there. Wouldn't expect it to offer a lot of support. If you did want to take a look at the mobile trading app that we have here at Grain Hedge, we showed it at the beginning of the show. It's a great tool. A lot of our producers are keeping the iPad or their mobile phone with them. When they're in the combine, they can view live quotes out of Chicago and see how their hedges are doing in real time. If you have any questions about that or want to take a 2-week demo, visit us over at grainhedge.com, or as always, call the office. Number is 877-472-4607. Thanks a lot for joining us here. We'll see you tomorrow to wrap up the week.